to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, the recap of Stage 9 of the Giro d'Italia, the last stage of Week 1. This episode is brought to you by Morton. We've had a lot of hard stages, some easy stages. Today we have a Vuelta-style Unipuerto, but a long stage, a lot of flat beforehand, starting in Cervia to Corno alla Scalle, 184 kilometers long. And it always amazes me how the time gaps can be bigger sometimes on a climb like this than on Blockhouse after 250 kilometers long. Because, 184 Ks, no climbing really, except for a 3K 5% climb in about 2 hours in. Then we start a staircase, a lot of fake newsing, 5K 7%, false slide uphill, then 4%, then a bit of short descent. And then the staircase continues until the last 3Ks, which are very, very steep. Got a 12% kilometer, got a 10% K, then 6% at the end of this stage. So I think there were pretty big gaps last time they used it.
Yeah.
What did you think, Benji? Was it an interminable discussion about KOM jerseys and who wants to wear a jersey in a TT? And what do you think would happen in today's stage?
Well, about the discussion of wanting to wear KOM in terms of Vingegaard towards the time trial, I don't think it matters too much in the first place. I'm sorry. Like, yes, on paper, there's the theory that the KOM jerseys and the distinctive jerseys in Grand Tours and stage races often negatively impact the aerodynamics of a rider. That's a theory that is upheld in the last couple of years of cycling. Now, I don't think for Jonas Vingegaard, it's going to be the difference between gaining 2 minutes or 1 minute and 20 seconds on Felix Gall, for example, in the time trial. So I didn't really care too much about that discussion. But for today's stage, it's a hockey stick parkour, which means that breakaway formation for the first 100 kilometers is on a flat route, which means that you pointed at it a few times in the last couple of days that tug buddies play a role, which is, for example, Milesi going into a move or trying to get Rubio as a backpack on his back into a breakaway is the idea of that strategy. And that is something I'd expect here, but it also makes it a little bit more easy to control for a team that wants to control a breakaway formation. For example, if it starts with a 30-kilometer mountain, it's a big mountain, but then it's harder to control because then attacks come left and right, they keep on attacking, then you've got this controlling tempo behind, but it's very possible that a breakaway of 25 occurs then. I don't see that necessarily happening on a stage like today, which has so much flat at the start. And that's basically how it started to play out. But in terms of control, Patrick, I would say that the team that ended up controlling today's stage was not the team that I had considered to potentially control today's stage, which ended up being the Decathlon CMA CGM. And
I didn't expect it.
I didn't expect it either. And the reason I didn't expect it is because I don't actually believe that Decathlon pacing on the flat negatively impacts the legs of his competitors before the final climb. It does bring the bonus seconds into play, so that is something valuable. I think that if Decathlon, this is not an in hindsight take to be clear, if Decathlon controlled this stage, then Vingegaard would win this stage, which is also podium competitors. But I think what happened on the final climb today, without mentioning it yet, would also happen if Decathlon started pacing at the foot of the final climb instead of the entire stage.
I think, they're putting the stage win in play. You never know what could happen. I think it doesn't go much beyond. Felix Gall's in his best ever shape. Felix Gall's good at climbing. Felix Gall's bad at time trial riding. The finish is uphill. The team has rouleurs that can help on the flat. I think it's that simple. And I think if you're the second best climber, do you have to be the first best climber to ever control a stage for the stage win? I agree with you. Vingegaard's nailed on to win most likely. But for the podium fight, you're putting 6 bonies in play, I would say expected case. And what if Vingegaard, you don't know. So I think it's fine.
If this was Tudor doing this for Mathies Rondel, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Exactly.
Guys? If it's a second rider in GC trying to do so, then I see it through the fingers. But at the end of the day, I think we need to jump into breakaway formation first because we're hinting at potential spoilers without going into the spoilers, and we sometimes get comments that are like, Benji, just spoil it. People that are listening to the podcast have already watched the race.
Nah,
Turns out that's not actually true.
that's not
As
true.
in, a lot of people have, but also a lot of people haven't, right?
Well, like the Mets is a good example with baseball. There's 162 games a year. Half of them are at night when I can't watch. I'm not watching a full game back, but I listen to Rico Bronya every day that it's available, the podcast recapping the Mets. So I think the same applies. People, believe it or not, I think some people have jobs and friends that listen to this show.
A small amount of people.
Don't know why you do that, but then they can't just sit and watch every race like we do. So anyway, breakaway formation. Giulio Ciccone said he's going in the break. He lost 5 minutes yesterday. He should have done it 5 days ago, but anyway, better late than never. Absolutely perfect finish for him. If the break goes all the way, he's heavily, big favorite to win. And he said, I got a good team to help me get in the break. Yes and no. He had Teutenberg and Walscheid helping him. I don't know what Johnny Milan was doing. Like, Johnny Milan also he gets followed by Manier everywhere on the breakaway.
Except the one time he tried today, while there was already a breakaway up the road by a minute, and just got stuck in the Chaspeton and realized, what the fuck am I doing? And dropped back to the group behind. That was fascinating. But it's just tug buddy action in today's breakaway, to be honest. We had a group with maybe Milesi, Ballerini, and Blancard getting up the road for a little bit. Walscheid trying with Ciccone, like you mentioned. But it's really that first three riders, Milesi, Ballerini, and Blancard. Are there two strategies for a tug buddy, Patrick? Is there the strategy of Milesi attacks with Rubio on the wheel versus Milesi is in the group ahead already and Rubio tries to follow a group towards it so they have an engine in that breakaway already?
I like the latter because actually when the way Trek did the tug buddying, it's too hard on the climber. When Teutenberg does a sprint lead out on the flat from the back, shooting from the back with Ciccone in the wheel, it really hurts the climber to follow in the wheel.
Yeah, but it also depends on the climber then, because some climbers have this ability of going in the breakaway by themselves in the first place and might need that.
I don't think Ciccone needs that.
Ride him. I don't think so either. Rubio is also pretty good at doing the
gets in
self-jumping.
every break he wants. He always gets in the break. Milesi, by the way, he's my domestique of the week. Milesi was incredibly good this week for Movistar. What was interesting was UAE weren't jumping at all. So maybe they decided the finish is too hard for Jan Christen against a Ciccone. Maybe they just read the race really well and they thought the breakaway wasn't going to win. Anyway, Decathlon are covering everything. Decathlon, despite Ciccone losing 5 minutes, they're covering him and Trek. Bahrain also were kind of covering Ciccone because they're like, it's not enough time you lost maybe. And Visma just letting it happen. Eventually a break forms and it's not a scary break whatsoever. It's the perfect break for Decathlon. It's got one climber in it, Rubio. That's the best you're going to get. Ballerini with no Astana guy to tug. Lowland for Uno-X with no Chota. Bice, but no Sevilla for the KOM. Naberman, but no Lame Riser. Marcellusi for Bardiani and Haynes, but no Vergalito. So it's only, Rubio's the only one that can climb.
And that's the thing with these breakaways on flat starts, that a lot of teams failed to get their climbers in the breakaway. And even Trek with Ciccone failed to do so in the first place, partially because he's probably more controlled than Rubio would be in break formation, is what I'd expect. But that is what makes these flat run-ins harder for a breakaway to be the potential decisive stage winner. I know we both selected a breakaway victory yesterday, but
because more riders, more domestiques are available also to pull when the break is formed for the chasing team. If you have an uphill, so let's say you have like on stage 5, even if it wasn't a hard climb later, if you have a 10K 6% start, Rasmus Pedersen's dropped. They have to wait for Oliver Naesen to come back. Not everyone has Niels Pollitt who doesn't get dropped there and can pull immediately. So it just means more riders can pull. But yeah, week break, Decathlon should be happy with it. Ciccone not in. I think it looked like, it must have been frustrating for him. And then I went
Nothing happens
then I watched
until we
go,
get... Then you watch Random go. Okay, we'll get to that later maybe. But we then went to I think roughly 70 kilometers to go, a bump on the road, a hill, I would say. And that's where Ciccone showed his frustration, because he was like, okay, if you don't allow me in the breakaway on the flat, then I'll attack on the uphill segment. So he attacked together with Ton Arts and Ulysses. The gap was 2 minutes, by the way, from breakaway to peloton there. But yeah, we've got a 3-rider chasing group here, slowly but surely catching up with this initial group up front. Then they do catch up before the final climb starts, the final 2 climbs technically, and we've got a 11-man breakaway now. So that's kind of the vibe here. But Patrick, what nutrition do people need to use to be able to get in breakaways like this in the first place?
You got to use a lot of carbohydrate because you oxidize a lot of carbohydrate. So if you don't know, Benji and I, we went to Sweden. We went to Morton HQ. They got some regular hunters like me and Benji along instead of people that break the 2-hour marathon world record. And actually, I think it was really good and really interesting. Sometimes it's nice to see the data of, people who are at different stages of their fitness journey or who do, a bit of exercise a week, or I'm doing a little bit more at the moment. And
mortals.
Yeah, mortal. Wow, I am very talented, but lazy.
Wow.
So
you think you're very talented.
Yeah, exactly. And what was curious...
I'm lazy.
I'm definitely lazy. So definitely lazy, that's why. But we had a carbohydrate oxidation test, which is basically we blow into a bag every 15 minutes when we did 3 hours on the indoor trainer at like just below our lactate threshold 1. So, endurance pace basically. And
why?
Just to see how many carbs your body's oxidizing. Basically, how much carbs you're getting through. I should stop saying oxidizing. How much carbs you're burning every hour, or your rate of burning carbs every hour. And also, where does the carbs come from? So we were drinking 80 grams of carbs an hour. For me, that's a lot. I'm pretty small. I'm not doing 280 watts. I can do 1500 watts for 50 seconds, but I'm not doing 300 watts for 3 hours. And even at relatively low intensity, it was surprising to see how many exogenous carbs, i.e. the carbs we were drinking, taking in, we were burning, and how that changed over time. And me and Benji had an identical graph. I asked Alexandra, I was like, you've just copy pasted it. Me and Benji had the same graph or curve basically. And yeah, we were burning like, I don't know how much it was. I was burning 70 grams an hour. In the 3rd hour, I was burning 70 grams an hour of exogenous carbs or external carbs, riding at like 170 watts.
It's like, I always knew that fueling was important on the bike, but seeing the graph in front of me of the data of how much carbs that I'm going through, and therefore realizing that if I don't add carbs to my body while I'm doing that, that's visibly seeing the logic to why you would bunk during a ride will make me realize that I should definitely eat a bit more on the bike.
Yeah, and I would never before this, I would never take 80 grams an hour riding endurance.
Same.
Bikes. And I don't always have to either in the future, but if I was doing this is just a normal ride. So a really, really interesting data. Thanks to Morton for bringing us out and doing the testing on us. Really cool. And we'll have a vlog coming soon as well of that. So stay tuned for that on the last rest day of the Giro. But yeah, thanks for Morton for supporting the show. If you want to get Morton stuff, you can get a nice discount through our link down below. Okay, Ciccone. Did Decathlon make a mistake keeping the brake too tight, Benji?
Oh, I don't think so.
Like inducing Ciccone and Ulysses to jump across?
Oh, like that. Okay. Well, there's two angles here. On one end, having it close allows Ciccone to have the thought process of, if I jump now, I can make it to the front. But on the other hand, if you keep it too far, then Rubio might win the stage.
Yeah, exactly. Because Rubio's a good climber.
I think it was a fine balance. I don't hate how they've done it.
Yeah, me either.
But we're now closing in towards the last climb, which is like 23-ish kilometers of quote-unquote climbing, but it's technically 2 climbs. You've got the Cerciola climb first, and then the Cornualles Scale climb, which is the last portion of the climb with a bit of a 4K, I think, descent in the middle, and then a few smaller descent segments in the climb itself and flatter parts. But it's really the last portion that's the steepest, the last 4-ish kilometers, I would say. But we have the 2-parters. So on the first spot, the Cerciola portion, this is with about 23 kilometers to go. We see the initial splitting ups of the breakaway. The gap at this point is 2 minutes towards the peloton, and I think there's a moment where Ballerini and Rubio get a small gap on the others, and I don't know who closes it or bridges it, but those riders do include Ulisi, Ciccone, Milesi, Arts, and Bice. The rest is gone at this point. So we're now talking about let me count that, 7-rider group at the front of the race, and it takes another 2-ish kilometers for that to deteriorate into Rubio, Ciccone, I think Ulisi, Milesi, and maybe Art still trying to catch up. And it's once we get to that Cornualli Scale climb, Patrick, with 11 kilometers to go, where we see Ciccone attacking from the group and Rubio following, and it's a 2-man fight there now. But who did we see pacing on the Guerciola and the start of the Cornualli Scale climb?
It was, I think Decathlon had burned through their team. And like I said, I was missing a versatile rouleur on this team. Like for Lund, but also
Castroviejo.
Yeah, Castro, Milese, Prudhomme. I mean, I know Prudhomme's going to the Tour, but that sort of rider I was missing. And
race director.
Yeah. But
I'm sorry. Horrible joke.
Nicola Prudhomme, they sort of needed that rider. But anyway, Visma start to pace a little bit with Tim Rex, but they're bluffing. And Callum Scotson's they're leaning on, but then Decathlon say, well, we can't pull this all back ourselves. It's Callum Scotson, Mühlberger, Gall. They're not using Mühlberger before the last climb, like 2-3 Ks. And so Callum Scotson did a big shift today, very underrated climbing domestique. Obviously, if he was not Australian, he'd be making double the money and have double the length of contract, but we don't need to go into that.
Is that still true?
100%. 100%.
Are you only saying it because Berwick exists?
There's so many examples.
Yeah, but
Hindley, O'Connor are so underrated. Like, I know they didn't do great today, but like their Grand Tour track record, and if they were from Western Europe, they'd be signed to 2030.
I'm gonna have to put you on a spot. Why has Visma not signed any Australians in the last 1.5 years, sir?
Because Berwick deserves to lead Grand Tour, another team.
Oh yeah, because Jonas has a spot, so you can't take in Berwick to. Yeah, I see that. That. It's out of respect.
He's blocked. Yeah.
Where were we?
Callum Scott's in great pull. Good job from him. Very strong. And yeah, the gap starts to come down 2 minutes, 1:30, 1 minute. Callum Scottson takes it 1:30 to 1 minute. We see Bart Lemon start pulling. Ciccone's clear. Rubio's cracking. And it's all about the last 2.5, 3 Ks on this climb. Lemon pulls, then Campanarts. We see Pellizzari, Benji. Hand up. I said he was doing the Del Toro pacing gimmick. He got me. He actually just had coal in his leg.
When you said that, I just didn't believe it because of the climb, you know? If it's a Jebel Mobra style climb, then yeah, sure.
Why would he be doing that on 3%?
Yeah, on 3% plus only a 4.5, 5 kilometer actual climb at the finish line. It would make no sense for him to be pacing that.
No, and that's how he paced Lagunas de Naya last year in Burgos.
Yeah, but there has to be some urgency here. With Visma pacing so hard at the front, you don't want to be in that position if you're a potential podium competitor. So, and also he was looking behind a few times. The term is coal in the legs, I'm afraid.
The tell was Aliotti kept looking at him too much.
Yes.
Aliotti kept looking at him and speaking to him, and that was the tell that something was up.
You can do this, Giulio, in Italian, is the vibe I was getting. But in the breakaway, Ciccone has dropped Rubio at this point. He's riding solo. The gap is coming down quite a bit, though. We're looking at 50-ish seconds, and like you said, Visma was pacing at that point. Pellizzari on the brink of dropping. But it's when Pellizzari drops that we see a shift in maybe how Decathlon's riding it. I don't know whether it was planned for Decathlon to do it there or not, on whether it's a reaction on what happened to Pellizzari, but Pellizzari drops. He's off the back, and this results in, at the front, I think Mühlberger coming to the front with not Gall in the wheel, Mühlberger, then Sepp Kuss, and then Gall. And we go into a flat, maybe short downhill segment, and Mühlberger just rides off into the distance, and Kuss like, I'm not going to try and push those watts to follow you right here. So this is that idea where if you're a GC rider and you put someone at the front, if you're not in the wheel, there's a chance that another team says, I'm not going to follow your pacing teammate. And that's the thing that happens here, but it doesn't happen too long because not too soon after that, we see Mühlberger back in the front with Gall in the wheel now, and then it's only 300 meters to go, I think, in the last 2.4-ish kilometers to go, where Felix Gall attacks, and it's only one man following. The rest is gone.
Yeah, so Kus was in front. He was, yeah, as you said, he's like, Gregor, you got to understand, I don't pull on the flat section. I'm waiting for the uphill bit. And yeah, Gall anticipate. I mean, I don't know if he knew, but actually for the stage, he shouldn't attack here. I think for the stage, he has to like wait. But with Pellizzari and Hindley like off the back, he's got to take time. I mean, he's decathlon now in hindsight, the way they rode the stage was even better. Like for how it moved Gall's GC position into a better place because yeah, Pellizzari was already dropped. Hindley's behind Piganzoli. Piganzoli drops the wheel. Gall keeps pacing. The gap just explodes. So Aronsman was on a gap. It was a steep section. Gall keeps riding. He gets about 5 seconds behind Ciccone and looks to Vingegaard to pull. And Vingegaard's like, no. You got to protect Piganzoli's GC place behind.
I'm sorry, but I'm not having that excuse. For me, the excuse is as simple as Jonas Vingegaard is leading this race. There is no necessity for him to ride here because he knows that Felix Gall needs to ride to try and get as big of a gap as possible on Jai Hindley, on Pellizzari, on his sporting competitors, for the obvious reason that Gall knows he has fragility. He knows he has a time trial that is not great compared to the others, and he will lose time in that time trial. So with that logic in mind, both of those riders, both Gall and Vingegaard, know that Gall needs to ride into that situation, and Jonas knows that as well. But I do think it's good that Gall tries. You never know. There is a realistic chance that Vingegaard feels some panache today and is like, I'll do a few turns. That's possible. No, it's Gall that has to continue riding with Vingegaard in the wheel. They pass Ciccone, they drop Ciccone, and it's basically those two riding off to a potential stage win battle. But I think the inevitable was in our heads already that Jonas would eventually attack and drop Gall. But before we get to that point, Patrick, what were we seeing when it comes to the other riders on the road? Because I feel like I was shocked to see Eulalia catching back up to Hindley and starting to drop him.
Eulalia paced this really, really well. He was flying past guys. And I think Eulalia does not react on... He doesn't even maybe... I have to go rewatch the footage. I think some guys who let Jonas and Kus go a little bit, if they save that Watt spike there, Aronsman, Eulalia, they got the benefit of it later. Rondell and Hindley, they go too deep right at that moment. They crack. Yeah. Rondell loses quite a lot of time. Well, he does a fine performance, but yeah, he could have beaten G, for example, whereas Eulalia beats him on this finish. Piganzoli also kept the legs still at that moment. And Aronsman just starts dieseling. So Aronsman just diesels, drops everyone, gets into the middle. He even was coming back on Vingegaard and Gall. Very good performance from Aronsman considering the climb. Like, it's not the best climb, I would say, for him. He's got the TT on Tuesday. I think Aronsman's looking very good for the podium based on today.
42K flat time trial, for sure.
So Aronsman should be, on the... probably he can't take 5 minutes on Eulalia, but he should be third in GC, fourth in GC on after TT. Anyway, he's dieseling. Vingegaard goes away. He wins the stage with like a 800-meter attack with, coincidentally, the same time he gained on Blockhouse. That's what, as today, more or less, by a second. Yep. He wins by 12 seconds. Piganzoli gets to Aronsman, then beats him in the sprint for third. Aronsman fourth. That's on 34 seconds. Eulalia, 41 seconds, fifth. I thought today would suit him, actually. And yesterday suited him. G West, 46 seconds. Rondell, Kus, same time. Hindley on 50 seconds with Stora. Ciccone from the break, 57 seconds. Scaroni, Van Eetvelt. So you see some guys here, right?
Yeah.
This is why not every climb is the same. Unipuerto, 8-minute effort. Ciccone, Scaroni, Eulalia, Van Eetvelt, good. Blockhouse, bad. So, Ciccone was good. So I think you see, like, Eulalia is better at these shorter climbs than the longer ones.
Yeah. I agree with you there. I would say that Van Eetvelt is kind of just okay. I wouldn't say like, wow, what a ride today, getting a 13th on the stage either. So I think the standout performance for me is like, Jonas winning the stage, not shocked, should win from that situation. And he does. So congrats to him. credits to Felix Gall for pulling off what he did, because he takes more than a minute on Pellizzari and puts maybe 40 seconds on Hindley.
And Bock. And O'Connor, who's a good time trial rider.
Yeah, so that's exactly what Gall needs to continue doing. And as long as the other competitors don't try to hurt him on stages where he's fragile, which is like yesterday, for example, I think Gall could have lost time there if someone else tried. Well, that's good for Gall. And he should keep trying and carving time into them on stages that do fit him, which he's doing. Now, Piganzoli getting third is fascinating, because the other day on Blockhouse, he pulled and then went to the back of the group, started chatting to people, and then eventually maybe dropped off the back, or actually he finished with Kuznetsov and Eulalio and Caruso?
Yeah,
no,
he finished with Eulalio and Bernal.
Did he?
On 255, yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out the groups in my head here for a second from Blockhouse, but then today he finishes third, beating Arensman in a bit of a kick to the line. That is fascinating to me, because Piganzoli's climbing level in this race looks really good, to the point that if he was riding for himself up to this point, he probably could be fighting for a top 5 position in GC. Is that fair?
Podium. On Blockhouse,
I can't say that for sure.
On Blockhouse, he'd be with Hindley and O'Connor.
Yeah, but the podium right now is Eulalio from the breakaway, Vingegaard and Felix Gall. So
true.
I think he'd.
But in my team construction in this fictional world, he has Seb Bowick after the climb on stage 5 to chase Eulalio.
You can't just virtually sign a rider that you haven't signed. That's not how this works. Yeah. And you're also saying Berwick would be domestiquing for Piganzoli, which
co-leader, sorry.
Berwick is a climber. Piganzoli isn't, according to your ranking. So it should be the other way around.
You make a fair point.
Anyway, next to that, Rondel, yes, he may be overextended initially. Still it's an still amazing fine. Ride for him.
It's still good, yeah.
Like, this guy, 90% of, I would say, 99.9% of the Giro watchers in general had no clue who Rondel was before the Giro started, and maybe half of the people listening to this podcast didn't know who Rondel was.
Tudor knew. He's got a contract until 2030. So,
I'm shocked by that, by the way.
Well, they're high on him, so
yep.
And he's paying it off right now. I mean, even though I say, it overpays, maybe cost him 5-10 seconds, he's still top 10 in another Grand Tour uphill finish, and he's dropping Hindley and co. So very good performance from him.
I don't want to give too many medals to myself here, but you know who would have known Rondel and Piganzoli since 2022 and 2023? Every viewer of the Benji Last YouTube channel.
Exactly.
Sign them on PCM. Let's go.
I'll do the revised GC. Eulalio loses a bit more time to Vingegaard. He's now on 2:24 to Vingegaard. Or leading rather, Pink by 2:24. Felix Gall on 3 minutes. Hindley's on 4:32, so he's now a minute 33 behind Gall and 4 minutes 30 behind Eulalio. Scaroni drops a spot to 4:43. Arensman moves up 3 spots on 5 minutes. He's 2 minutes behind Gall. So can Arensman put 2 minutes into Gall on that TT? I think yes. So Arensman's going to be in the podium on the end of Tuesday night. Rondel 5:01, O'Connor 5:03. O'Connor's going to put time into Gall. Pellizzari as well 5:15. Stora 5:20. And then it's, much of a muchness. G West 6:15. He has to take time. Yeah.
Because, the way I'm looking at this time trial, Eulalio's also not a great time trialist. We haven't seen him going for himself a lot of the time in his career, so we don't know whether he went all out in some time trials or not. But based on what I hear from the Portuguese people about Eulalio's time trial, it's going to be close.
Yeah, apparently it's horrific, yeah.
So Vingegaard might be in the Maglia Rosa after the time trial. Eulalio will be first or second. Then Gall's going to drop out of P3. Arensman will be in P3, like you say.
But that's the TT done, Benji. Gall is dropping them every uphill finish.
How far is Gall dropping in GC though in the time trial is what I'm trying to figure out.
But not he took him 45 seconds or something on Bora on Blockhouse. He took a minute today. He will keep taking time.
Can a rider like O'Connor take 2 minutes on Gall in a time trial?
Yeah. Block does
Scaroni
decent.
won't.
Scaroni, no.
Hindley, I don't see a minute 30. What is it? A minute 30?
Nah, I don't see that.
Could be, could not be.
Is Pellizzari, like today, that's not just, I don't know, like, is he sick? Like, that was really not his level today.
That's definitely not his level, especially because it's also a Unipuerto climb, you know? Like, I would expect Pellizzari to do better on a climb like this. He started dropping the second the climb started, the final climb. The last 5K, the proper climb of today. So that's definitely less than Pellizzari's level. But also, is it some fatigue? Yes, we had a rest day after day 4. It's a bit half a rest day because they had to travel quite severely from Bulgaria to Italy. We're now the 6th day in a row, so maybe stacking up a little bit before the rest day of tomorrow. I'm trying to find excuses here, but it's not looking great.
Yeah. I don't know. But we should preview the TT, Benji. I guess we just did. By the way, everybody, yeah, it's a 40-something kilometer PCS.
Ghana wins.
Ghana?
Yeah, it's flat. 42 kilometers. There's nothing in there.
Yeah, I'd say you're probably right.
If Ghana loses it, he should retire on the spot.
On the spot, you say?
On the spot.
Other TT specialists we have here, yeah, Jay Vine was probably the only guy that could have pushed Ghana, but even on the flat TT, I don't think so. Alex Sagar.
Sobrero, top 5? Do we still believe in that? It's been a while, eh?
I would say Magnus Sheffield's more likely to top 5. I reckon Ineos might lock out the podium with Sheffield, Aronsman, and Ghana.
Gotta stay on the bike, though, eh?
Yep, but I think it's a chance Ineos lock out that TT podium. And...
Are we being rude to someone by not mentioning them?
I don't think so.
Trying to go through them?
I don't think we are. Alex Sagar, but he's focusing on road racing now.
Old school Will Barta showing up for top 7.
It's a flat TT.
I'm just thinking, I'm desperate to find someone, okay?
Anyway,
some UNOX rider in the top 7.
The GC gaps will be good, so it'll be worth watching. Just do a quick whip around. We had Basque Country today. Quite an exciting, albeit perplexing finish in San Sebastian, where FDJ had numbers. Bredevold was off the back, and they let her come back, and she holds on to GC. Lauren Dixon perhaps could have won GC or ahead of Castelline. And Vladarchik wins another stage ahead of Muzic and Dixon. Somewhat perplexing again that Muzic sprints Dixon to also lose her a GC spot. Anyway, the bonies. And Bredevold wins GC here. She was very good here last year. She nearly won GC here last year, but she had a demi-Vollering. There, the start list was a bit weaker this year in Zulia, so Bredevold good again. In
Vladarchik got a time penalty of 20 seconds? Am I seeing that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, she would have been on the podium.
Nah, she would have been on 24 seconds.
Oh, yeah, you're correct. 44 minus 20 is not 20, Benji.
Yeah. In Hungary, absolute scenes the last 2 days, like pure cinema in Hungary. The shortened stage yesterday, Sodafis got given the same time. He's in an echelon with UAE today, and poor old Perikas, who weighs about 40 kilos less than him, overreacts when someone moves in the echelon and brake checks Sodafist and chops him.
Someone asked me today, what is brake checking, Patrick, for the people that are newer to this motorcycle?
He just, without flowing with the echelon and moving, because you're always overlapping wheels in an echelon with strong wind like that, he panicked, grabbed his brake, shoots back into Sodafist, who had no warning, and Sodafist had his wheel overlapping because they're in an echelon, and he got chopped. Kozniff stays up, but then UAE don't get together with Plapp. Plapp doesn't wait for them because he's trying to win GC because he's 12 seconds behind Kozniff in GC. He powers away with Nylans and Surchek. They all get chased down. Merlier wins the sprint because that's how it has to end. But Ciclismo, yesterday the last 5Ks, today the last 20Ks. Today was actually better for yeah, yesterday more for the wrong reasons. Today was entertaining.
Hand in the air. Roof just reported to us that you have not locked in a stage pick for stage 10, so gotta get you in there.
Ganno, yeah, Ganno.
Okay, there we go.
He's been avoiding leading out Turner for the last week. He better win.
Okay.
The Runden Köln was a nice race. Bora brought a very, very strong team. They played numbers with Meus behind. They used a short, sharp climb, the sand climb, I think, to split the race up. Fred Wright, who was very strong in Trobo Leon, he went with Pithy and Eamon de Gent. And yeah, Pithy rolled right in the sprint. So I think where did Bora come? Yeah, anyway, they won. Good job from Pithy. I think it's his first win for Bora, is it not?
Yes. Is it?
Yeah, it's his first win since Cadell's.
Whoa. By the way, talking about wins, Nout Smeets earlier before we started the podcast gave a €11 donation to the podcast and said, "This is for the Young Kristen rest day documentary. Tomorrow is the rest day."
It's not a document. I haven't done it yet, but I will. Again, he did it today. You see Young Kristen dropping today to save his legs? He knows exactly what he's doing. And man, if you had a team full of Young Kristens, you'd win 100 races every year.
Yeah, but you also wouldn't win important races.
Yeah, you would.
You tell me, which important race has Young Kristen won this year?
Imagine stage 5, you have 8 Young Kristens attacking. How much time you can take in GC?
8 Young Kristens attacking each other! That's the problem!
I mean, but he does it like, why would he keep pacing today when other guys are just chasing? They're not in GC, just killing their legs when Jonas and Gall are going to go away. But no, I haven't got around to the Young Kristen, the misunderstood genius of Young Kristen video yet.
You didn't specify which rest day. There's a lot of Grand Tours in the world.
I got Morton Vlog next rest day. Maybe I can double up. I'll double up.
Probably focus on one. Quality over quantity, Patrick. Come on.
Where else? There's too much racing. There was the Grand Premio in New York City, 0.2 race in New York. Fort Lee, wherever. I don't know where that is. Sebastian
I'm
Brenner's
always curious about the Grand Premio in New York City. Do we know what the parkour is like?
It's an uphill sprint.
It can't be that they actually lock up the streets of New York for a cycling race, right?
It must be the state of New York. Well, no, this is Grand Premio in New York City. This is New York City.
I don't believe that's...
Where do they start?
That's crazy.
I'm checking now.
I want to see.
I'm trying to open it.
Fort Lee, named after Bruce Lee?
I don't think so. They start... Oh, they start in Fort Lee. So it's not that far from Manhattan.
And they finish in Zoran Mamdani's garden.
Yeah, they start. Yeah, they start on the other side of the Interstate 95. Just near on the other side of Washington Heights, near in New Jersey, just outside of Manhattan. So if they do finish like in the city, that's pretty cool.
I'm happy for them.
That's cool. Yeah, imagine Central Park Prologue would go hard. Imagine Varenshold against
it's actually quite hilly, Central Park.
Exactly. Central Park Prologue, make that happen. Okay. Let's go, Mets. We gotta win the rubber match in this Subway series. Come on. Thanks for listening as always. We'll see you with the recap of the TT on Tuesday. Until then, ciao.